Welcome to Favorite 8. 8 albums I loved this month in about 8 minutes. And even with COVID-19 delays, April had no shortage of solid releases. Strong debuts, long-awaited returns, and some pleasant surprises. These are just 8 of my favorites. You'll find a playlist featuring tracks from all of the albums I mentioned and more down in the description below. And 2 years ago to the date, we released our first sponsored video. And that same sponsor, Skillshare, still supports this channel to this day, helping us bring new videos to you guys every month. So thank you, Skillshare, for sponsoring this video. You can find out how to get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium later in the video. But for now, let's get to our favorite 8 from April. You know the Strokes are going to make the cut this month. The New Abnormal is the first Strokes record in over 7 years, and it's actually managed to pass most of my expectations. In a previous video, I said that I wasn't sure whether or not I should be excited for another record from the group. They never really seemed to live up to the hype machine that was their first record, and to be honest, I don't think they're going to ever recapture that magic in a bottle moment that was Is This It? But The New Abnormal is the best Strokes record in probably the last 15 years. Casablancas and crew take an over-the-top, colorful approach, similar to what the frontman did with his band The Voids in 2018, probably one of my favorite records of that year. But while also toning down a bit of that experimentation in exchange for some pop appeal. There's only 9 tracks here, and they're all lively yet laid back, and pretty well fleshed out, considering most of them come in at over 5 minutes. The New Abnormal is the Strokes for the modern age, and they somehow continue to make it look like they're doing this so effortlessly. When Pitchfork gives an album a 10, it's bound to perk up some ears. Fiona Apple's Fetch the Bolt Cutters is her first release since 2012's The Idler Wheel, an album that proved her to be at the peak of her career. But Fetch the Bolt Cutters proves that she still has some surprises left up her sleeve, despite even a 20-year career. Emotionally, this album replicates some of that raw vulnerability that she's brought in the past, but she's turned in her singer-songwriter label in exchange for something more eclectic. Like the title suggests, the album sees her cutting herself loose. From her self-image, from a toxic relationship, whatever it might be that's holding her back. She proves that self-induced freedom musically as well, as Bolt Cutters has her creating this wild type of orchestra, churning out sounds from essentially anything she can get her hands on. It makes for plenty of beautiful layers, experimental time signatures, a unique vocal energy, and probably one of the most chaotic rhythm sections we've heard so far this year. If Prince and TV on the Radio managed to collaborate, you'd have Heaven to a Tortured Mind. Soulful rock music with a bit of an experimental twist. Yves Tumor's 2018 release Safe in the Hands of Love left me genuinely intrigued. It was a noisy, boundary-pushing neo-psych record with a couple standout tracks like Noid and Licking Orchid, although some of it felt a little overwhelming and some tracks carried on a lot longer than they needed to. On Heaven to a Tortured Mind, Tumor has outdone himself and has managed to tame some of his sonic anarchy. He extends the track list while reducing the runtime, and what we get is electric. Everything I loved about Yves' previous releases is here. A vibrant R&B sound with a psychedelic, punk-like atmosphere. It's those explosions of warped sound that make this a real Album of the Year contender, and by the end of each track, you'll be wishing for more, just to go right back to the top of the track list for another go. Don't be turned away by one of the most cringy album covers of the year, because Nnamdi's Brat picks up some of the fun that Brockhampton have been dropping from their last couple of releases. I'd never heard of Nnamdi prior to this project, but the further I got into the track list, the more my confidence in him grew. I kept waiting for a track to skip, but rarely did that ever arrive. It joyfully jumps between styles and moods, pushing the boundaries of hip-hop and R&B. It really just showcases that the Chicago artist can kind of do it all, and I'd definitely say that he's one to watch for, because he sounds like the artist who's on the cusp of releasing a masterpiece in the near future. But in the meantime, Brat has more than a handful of tracks to hold you over. You can do it all too, with this month's Favorite 8 sponsor, Skillshare. I love learning new things, and doing YouTube has been an ongoing learning experience. But like anything, I get bored easily. I'm very much a jack of all trades, master of none type person. And in that sense, Skillshare has been an asset for me. For those of you who don't know, Skillshare is an online learning community for creatives. Any kind of creative work that you could aspire to do at home is on Skillshare. You can write a solid script with their creative writing classes, learn motion graphics and the art behind video production step by step, how to market your own brand, and even how to remain productive after you start. Right now, I'm working on bringing some better merch to Middle 8, and Aaron Drapling's class on designing great stuff has been an obvious watch. You can get full access to the class and more using the first link below. In fact, the first 1,000 of my viewers to click the link in the description will get 2 free months of Skillshare Premium. If you're uncertain about what's next or just want to break up the routine of the day-to-day, this can be where you can take the next step in your creative journey. Use creativity as self-care. An annual subscription is less than $10 a month. But try it out for 2 months when you use the first link in the description below, and get lost in creativity with Skillshare's online classes. If I had to explain this next album in just 2 words, it would be space funk. Thundercat is known for his infectious bass grooves, and It Is What It Is delivers more of what we heard in his previous release, Drunk. He brings back some familiar friends like Flying Lotus for a funky jazz tracklist full of warm, charming, and occasionally funny tunes. I will say his vocals do leave a little to be desired, and tracks come and go before fully being explored or exploding into something grander. But there still is a lot to chew on here. Tracks like Funny Thing are so instant, it's almost impossible not to dance to them. His lyrical subjects tend to be goofy and full of jokes, but he takes his musicianship and his craft very seriously. It flows through some lofty, relaxed jams while also offering some break speed instrumentals. But It Is What It Is will offer you a number of new favorites to return to for quite some time. I wasn't expecting to be swept off my feet again by an electro-pop record, at least so soon after Future Nostalgia. I'm Your Empress of is a strong synth-pop effort featuring some dance floor-ready gems. Reminiscent of some earlier Björk records, it combines this dance-pop sound with some new wave flair that pays off really well. It's also just pretty damn consistent all the way through, if anything getting better as the tracklist moves along. It also carries this overarching theme of being seen as you truly are, without any judgment, and it includes these Spanish mom-type interludes that are both hilarious and break up the tracks, but also service that overarching theme, because no one but your mom is going to love you as unconditionally. I'm clearly a sucker for maximalist pop music, so thankfully Rina Sawayama has delivered her debut album. 3 years after her 2017 EP, Sawayama is another genre bender that works better in your ears than it does on paper. Tracks feature some orchestral nu metal weaved with bubblegum pop choruses. It's a mashup of sounds from the early 2000s, 2 completely different crowds that, by 2020, appear to be best friends. Don't let that description keep you from diving into this pop oddball, because for her debut, she arrives on the scene like a pop queen contender. And while she doesn't really do anything new, she masterfully perfects the pop sound while introducing some interesting genres to the mix. My final pick for April is Minor Science's Second Language. Shifting rapidly between ideas is this techno, UK-based inspired record that's just made to be played on headphones, turned up loud, and deconstructed. Angus Finlayson proves to be a master at creative sound design, building these beautiful shimmering synth sections only to detonate them into glitched beats. It's definitely worth your time. It's been fueling my work periods and my at-home workouts. There you have it, ladies and gents, my favorite 8 albums from April. If you'd like a little taster of all these albums, I've made a playlist that you can find down in the description below. Subscribe for more, and be sure to hit that bell so you're notified of when next month's picks go live. Follow us at More Middle 8 for, well, More Middle 8. And tell me, what's your favorite album from April? And that's it from me. Again, thanks for watching, and keep listening.